A cold wind whispered through the open back door, carrying with it the scent of rain and the faintest trace of something unfamiliar, something that didn't belong. The house stood silent, its windows dark, as if holding its breath, waiting for someone to notice the secrets it kept hidden within its walls. Inside, the living room was a scene of quiet chaos. Rustling papers, scattered across the floor, fluttered in the draft, their edges lifting and falling like the wings of trapped birds. Each sheet told a fragment of a story, bills, letters, a child's drawing, now all jumbled together, their meaning lost in the disorder. Police officers moved with a heavy quiet, their torch beams cutting sharp, nervous lines through the deepening twilight. Every step was measured, every breath held, as if the very air inside the house was thick with tension. The officers exchanged glances, communicating silently, their faces drawn and serious, aware that every detail could be a clue. On the polished wooden floor, a single woman's shoe lay on its side, a silent testament to a struggle. Its presence was haunting, a stark reminder that someone had left in a hurry, or perhaps had been taken. The shoe's delicate strap was twisted, as if it had been wrenched away in haste, and the faintest scuff mark trailed away from it, leading toward the hallway. The glass of a picture frame was shattered, the smiling faces within, now, lost to the chaos. The photograph, once a symbol of happier times, was now marred by cracks and flecks of blood, its subjects frozen in a moment that would never return. The frame's ornate edge was splintered as if it had been thrown or struck in anger. In the corner, the red light of a forgotten television flashed rhythmically, casting a bloody pulse against the walls. The screen flickered with static, illuminating the room in brief, unsettling bursts. It was as if the house itself was trying to signal for help, its only voice a broken, electronic heartbeat echoing through the emptiness. The house, once welcoming, now felt like a stage after a tragic act. Furniture stood askew, evidence markers dotted the floor, and the air was thick with the sense of something unfinished. Shadows clung to the corners, and every creak of the floorboards seemed to whisper of what had transpired only hours before. The half-filled glass of water on the kitchen table suggested a moment interrupted, a life paused. Condensation still clung to its surface, proof that whatever had happened, it had happened quickly. The chair beside the table was pushed back, as if someone had stood up in alarm, leaving behind the ordinary details of their evening forever changed. Police tape, a stark yellow slash against the manicured lawns of Maple Street, declared that this home was no longer a sanctuary. Neighbors gathered at a distance, their faces pale in the glow of streetlights, whispering theories and fears. The tape fluttered in the wind, a barrier not just of plastic, but of understanding, separating the known from the unknown, the safe from the suddenly dangerous. As rain began to fall, the mystery of the empty house deepened, pulling the entire community into its dark heart. Each drop tapped against the windows and roof, a steady, mournful rhythm that seemed to echo the questions left unanswered. The house on Maple Street was no longer just a home, it was a puzzle, a warning, and a wound that would not soon heal. Just 3 months earlier, Millfield, Ohio, was the picture of American tranquility. Anna Rayner, a nurse at Millfield General Hospital, was beloved by all, kind, diligent, and always ready to help. She lived alone on Maple Street, filling her home with the smell of baked goods she shared with neighbors. Her closest friend, Julie, described Anna as universally liked, warm, and quietly private. Anna's life was rich with friendships and a comforting routine. No one could imagine her having an enemy, or a reason anyone would want to harm her. She was the quiet beating heart of her small community, a beacon of kindness whose sudden absence would leave everyone in darkness. The evening of July 21st began like any other for Anna Rayner. She left work at 8 p.m., exchanged a cheerful goodbye with Julie, and walked home as a storm brewed. At 8:30, Anna ordered a pizza from her phone. The delivery driver arrived at 9, knocked but got no answer, leaving the pizza on the porch. At 9:15, a neighbor's security camera caught a car pausing outside Anna's house before driving away. By 10, the storm broke, and Anna's house went dark. The next morning, Julie's calls went unanswered, and Anna missed her hospital shift. Alarmed, Julie drove to Maple Street, dreading what she might find. The timeline of Anna's normal evening had been violently fractured. The stormy night had hidden a tragedy from which there would be no morning light. Julie arrived at Anna's house just as the rain began to let up, her umbrella barely shielding her from the downpour. The pizza box, which Anna had ordered hours earlier, sat untouched on the porch, its cardboard sagging and the cheese inside now a cold, soggy mess. The sight sent a chill through Julie. Anna was always prompt about picking up her food, never one to leave things out in the rain. Something was wrong. She knocked on the door, her knuckles echoing in the empty night, and called Anna's name. her voice trembling with worry. The porch light flickered, but there was no answer. No footsteps, no movement inside, only the relentless sound of rain. Julie's heart pounded as she tried the doorknob, but it was locked tight. When the police arrived, they forced the door open. Inside, the living room was a scene of chaos. A single shoe lay abandoned near the couch, a family photo shattered on the floor, and the back door stood ajar, swinging in the wind. Anna's phone was missing, and her purse had been emptied onto the carpet. The officers exchanged grim looks. This was no ordinary disappearance. Anna had vanished without a trace. Her bedroom was in disarray, the window left wide open, as if someone had left in a hurry. Outside, the first missing person posters began to appear, fluttering in the damp night air. As neighbors whispered and speculated about what could have happened, the search escalated quickly. Police officers, joined by neighbors and volunteers, fanned out across the neighborhood, their flashlights cutting through the early morning mist. They combed through backyards, checked sheds, and scoured the nearby woods, calling Anna's name into the silence. The community came together, united by fear and hope. But as the hours passed, hope began to fade. Canine units were brought in, their noses to the ground, searching for any sign of Anna. But the storm had washed away nearly all traces. At the edge of the road, the dogs lost her scent completely. The rain had erased any footprints, any clues, leaving only questions behind. Days slipped by with no sign of Anna. The town grew quieter, the streets emptier, as fear settled in. Flyers with Anna's face appeared on every lamppost, her smile now a haunting reminder of her absence. Candlelight vigils were held, and prayers whispered, but the silence remained unbroken. Then, a break in the case. Anna's car was discovered abandoned at the entrance to a remote state forest. The driver's seat was pushed all the way back. Strange, since Anna was barely 5 feet tall. The car was unlocked, keys still in the ignition, as if someone had left in a hurry or never intended to return. Nearby, searchers found a shoe that matched the one left in Anna's living room. In the trunk, police discovered a blood-stained scarf and Anna's hospital ID badge, both carefully sealed in evidence bags. The forest path was cordoned off, and the search took on a new urgency. This was no longer just a missing person case. With the discovery of blood and personal belongings, the FBI was called in. Their arrival brought a new level of intensity to the investigation, as agents pored over evidence and coordinated with local police. The search for Anna had become a desperate hunt for a killer. The community waited, breathless, as investigators raced against time, determined to uncover the truth behind Anna's disappearance. With the grim discovery in Anna's car, the investigation intensified. The FBI joined local police, interviewing everyone in Anna's life. Family, friends, colleagues, neighbors, no one could name an enemy. Anna was a source of light, not conflict. Physical evidence was scarce and the storm had washed away clues. Investigators turned to digital trails, her phone, bank records, and computer. A blurry security camera image of a silver sedan became a key focus. Then detectives found a series of threatening emails sent to Anna from an anonymous account, traced only to a public library. The net was wide, but the monster remained hidden. The investigation narrowed to those closest to Anna. Julie, her best friend, was devastated but had a solid alibi. Mark, Anna's ex-boyfriend, had returned to town the week she vanished, raising suspicion. Mark claimed he was visiting his parents, but his alibi was shaky, and he had fresh scratches on his hands. Phone records placed him near the hospital, not Maple Street, but he remained a person of interest. The town began to whisper his name, and the media dubbed the case a small-town nightmare. Weeks passed with no break. Just 2 persons of interest and no hard evidence. The anonymous emails remained a dead end. Anna's parents made a tearful plea on TV. The town held its breath, waiting for a break that seemed out of reach. A month after Anna's disappearance, a hunter's dog uncovered a patch of disturbed earth in the state forest. Under a shallow pile of dirt and leaves, police found Anna Rayner's body. The grief in Millfield turned to shock and anger. Forensics found a small set of unfamiliar keys near her body, attached to a fob with a single letter, a B. Investigators re-examined every detail, searching for a connection to B. They re-interviewed neighbors, reviewed footage, and scoured files for any clue. The discovery of Anna's body gave them a location and a tangible link to the killer. The letter B became the first real thread to pull. The case shifted from hope to grim determination. The hunter's find had reignited the investigation. Now, the search for B began in earnest. With the keys in hand, detectives took a deeper look at Anna's phone records. They found a single outgoing text at 9:10 p.m., just before the silver sedan was seen outside her house. The message, "Help, he is here." It was never delivered. The intended recipient, Bennett Carter, a new nurse at Millfield General. Suddenly, the B on the key fob made chilling sense. Bennett had claimed he barely knew Anna, but her final message was to him. Security footage showed Bennett leaving the hospital after Anna, driving a silver sedan. He told his supervisor he was unwell and left early. The evidence was mounting. Detectives obtained a search warrant for Bennett's apartment. The quiet new nurse was now their prime suspect. The pieces were falling into place with terrifying speed. The truth was about to be revealed. The night was thick with tension as police officers arrived at Bennett Carter's apartment. The blue and red lights danced across the building's facade, casting long, ominous shadows. Inside, Bennett tried to maintain his composure, but the mask of calm he wore quickly began to crumble under the weight of suspicion and fear. The officers moved with purpose, their presence a stark reminder that the truth was closing in. Bennett's hands trembled as he was placed in handcuffs, the reality of his situation finally sinking in. As investigators searched the apartment, a crucial piece of evidence emerged: Anna's missing phone, hidden in Bennett's bedside drawer. The discovery sent a shockwave through the room. The phone, now sealed in an evidence bag, was more than just a device. It was a silent witness to the events that had unfolded, a direct link between Bennett and Anna's final moments. When confronted with the mounting evidence, Bennett's defenses shattered. In the stark, unforgiving light of the interrogation room, he broke down and confessed to everything. The weight of his actions and the inevitability of justice left him with nowhere to hide. The investigation revealed a disturbing pattern. Bennett had become obsessed with Anna, unable to accept her rejection. He sent her a series of threatening emails, carefully crafted and sent from a public library to avoid detection. Security ensure en bursoban bari undal when by. Security Dalwake Banjuri Stog confirmed his late-night visits, his face illuminated by the cold glow of the computer screen as he typed out his menacing messages. On the night of the murder, Bennett's obsession reached its breaking point. He followed Anna through the quiet, shadowed streets as she made her way home. When she confronted him and demanded he leave, something inside him snapped. The darkness outside mirrored the turmoil within him, and, in that moment, he lost control. In a violent fit of rage, Bennett killed Anna, but his actions didn't end there. Desperate to avoid suspicion, he tried to cover his tracks, moving her body under the cover of night, planting misleading evidence, and even returning to work the next day, feigning concern and shock as if nothing had happened. His attempts to blend in only deepened the sense of betrayal felt by those who knew him. Yet, in his panic, Bennett made a critical mistake. The keys found near Anna's body were his own, dropped in the chaos of the crime. This overlooked detail became the final piece of the puzzle, irrefutable proof of his guilt. The trial was swift. The evidence was overwhelming, and the community watched as Bennett Carter was sentenced to life in prison. Justice, though served, brought little comfort to those left behind. In the aftermath, the town of Millfield was left reeling. The streets were quieter, neighbors more wary, and a sense of innocence had been lost. Though the threat was gone, the shadow of betrayal lingered, and the community struggled to regain its sense of safety. The greatest danger, it turned out, had been hiding in plain sight all along. Bennett Carter, once a familiar face, had become the embodiment of evil, a chilling reminder that sometimes, the people we trust most are capable of unimaginable acts. In Millfield, the face of betrayal would never be forgotten.